I'm Dr. Deb Butler, and you are listening to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is episode number 334.
Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life, and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned.
Well, hello, all my dear friends all over the world. How is the end of summer going for you? I'm really enjoying my summer. I've really enjoyed all my hikes and my walks, and being with my babies, my grandkids, and traveling with them and celebrating my birthday with them, celebrating my anniversary. It's just been a wonderful summer, and I'm going to end the summer with celebrating my husband Michael's birthday. How about you? What's your summer been like? Well, today, as we're talking about summer, I have to tell you that I have had some amazing clients this summer. I really have. I don't think I've had so many at the same time. And so therefore, I want to share another one of my clients, one of my most beloved clients with you today, Jennie, who we just got through working with a few weeks ago. And I'm telling you, this woman has a lot to say, and I just wanted her to share her experience with you, and she was really excited to do it. And I have to tell you that I'm so touched that so many of my clients are willing just to come on and talk about their experience with me and share it with you, hopefully to inspire you, because they believe that they were inspired by someone else that was on my podcast. And Jennie is no different. She was inspired by some of the other interviews, which made her believe that she might be able to do this too. And so she signed up for a mini session and ended up hiring me. And now she's where she wants to be, which is peace with food, and willing and wanting to share her experience with you. And before I let you listen to this lovely interview with Jennie, I want to read to you what she wrote, which I didn't ask her to do, but she actually wrote a review and put it on iTunes about her experience with me. So I thought I would share that with you as an introduction to Jennie's journey with working with me. So this is what she wrote. Dr. Deb and her Thinner Peace process are a game changer in the game of life. Listening to the podcast is a great way to start. However, working with Dr. Deb made all the difference for me. Our chats, her probing questions, and gentle support guided me to a place where I could see how my own thoughts manipulated how I saw myself and how I even viewed food. Dr. Deb is kind but tough, and she helped me find my self-compassion and guided me to a place where I could be reunited with a long-lost friend, me. Is that beautiful? And you'll hear her talk about it in the interview, and she gets a little emotional. And I have to tell you that this coaching that I do with all my clients is deep, it's heartfelt. I'm tough, but I am kind, but I really know how to help you see your brain better and get out of your own way. And that's what Jennie wants to talk to you about now. So sit back, take a walk, take a bath, drive your car, whatever it is you're doing, and listen to this interview that I did with Jennie, and I hope it inspires you too. Enjoy. Hi, Jennie. Welcome to my podcast.
Hi, Dr. Deb. So nice to see you.
I'm so excited to see you. Okay, so you have been a listener of the podcast before you ever became a client of mine. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So would you mind, I think a great way to start out is, what made you go from being a listener of my podcast to wanting to set up a mini session and then deciding to hire me to work with you? What happened?
So I would say first, looking for your podcast I mean, seriously, that was like huge. Like, I needed to find your podcast because it dawned on me that my body was not what it had been. And so, and it dawned on me that it was like the menopause.
Yeah.
And it's one of those secrets that nobody talks about, right? I really, at least in my world, you don't hear it much. And so when I saw this thinner piece in menopause and read the blurb that went with it, I'm like, this is exactly what I need. And so I had probably listened for, I'd say 6 months. I don't even remember because I would listen at first and then I'd forget, you know what I mean? Like, and then I started, what's that thing called? I followed you.
Yeah.
And so every Tuesday it would come up a new one. And so I would always be looking forward to like what's coming on Tuesday. And then if you started talking about something, I would try and go back and find other ones that like might be interesting. I think in particular, like the emotional eating ones and the hunger scale, because I was just trying to figure that out. And so I had been a person like many of your listeners or people that you talk to that have tried 1,000,010 things to try and lose weight. I was a Weight Watchers person. My gym would do these awesome programs. I mean, they were like, one was definitely around eating because I'm a faithful workout person. I definitely do it to de-stress. And I think it really, really, really helps my mental health to do it.
You had that down.
I had that down. I mean, even during the pandemic, that was the one thing I was like, I am working out for 30 minutes and going outside every day.
Yep. You had that.
I have that, but I was still gaining weight. So that was like, oh, what's that about? So that was the thing of when I found you. Like, that's when the podcast stuff started happening. So to answer your question about what made me call you, I kept going back and forth saying, you should talk to her. I think I would totally like benefit, or I just feel like I could talk to, every time you would talk on a podcast, I'm like, I need to have a conversation with her. And
so you felt comfortable. You felt like,
because I was definitely had even a coach before when I had done this other program. So now when I look back,
book that mini session from listening for 6 months and then deciding to do that next step? What was it?
So the one thing I did go to the site and I looked at your calendar and I was like, oh, I can't do that time because I work at the school and I like was all the timing and everything. So I put it away. Okay. So I don't know if I ever told you that. I put it away and I was like, oh, we'll figure that out. So then like a month later, I just got so tired of feeling like me.
So tell me what tired of feeling like you was like that made you want to book that call. What was that like for you?
Now I'm using the language. I was telling myself that you feel like a blob. I felt like a blob. That voice in my head was saying that this is just not good. You're just not doing what you should do. Something's up. And I think I just was like, oh, just talk to her. Just book it, make it work. And so I remember, I couldn't even get it right away. I was thinking I could get it right away. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, I can do it next week. And then you weren't free next week when I could do it. So it made me, I did it. I said, you know what? It's on the calendar. Screw it. I'm faithful to my Google Calendar. And so if I put it on the calendar, then I have to do it. And so I did it. Yeah.
So the reason that you did it is because you were so tired of feeling the way you were feeling. When you said feeling like a blob, do you mean like kind of feeling like you weren't like tired of feeling like you couldn't control what you were putting in your mouth? Because I know we talked a lot about that.
Oh, yeah.
Eating, lose weight.
I kept thinking I was doing everything right. So I'm celiac. And so I have to eat gluten-free. And I was like, I'm pretty good with that. But some of the stuff, I would find myself, well, I'm eating healthy. I'm eating their gluten-free crackers or it's gluten-free pasta. And I don't drink a ton. And so even then I'd be like, if one weekend I had drinks or something, it's like, oh, it's no big deal. And so I couldn't figure it out because I thought I was doing everything right.
Got it. So where you were is that you were tired of thinking that you were doing everything right, working really hard at it, not losing any weight and feeling like you just didn't know what was going on. And maybe you believe that I might be able to help you figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. I mean, everything I had heard on the podcast and all the people that I love listening to your interviews.
I know,
And
that's why you're
here. I did, because it would be like, I would hear somebody and I'd be like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
And so I kept thinking, so I must be off. Something must be off with me, because, you read like different nutrition things and they're like 5 small meals, or they're like a smoothie first thing you get up in the morning and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm doing that, but I just did not feel right. And so I figured there was something I was doing. So I called you, or I set up that appointment, and then we had that 30-minute conversation. And I was just like, I felt like we clicked.
Yep.
I
felt like that too.
Yeah. I felt like, oh my God, I got a new friend. And like, I almost had to control myself to stop not email you all the time before we could meet, because we couldn't even start our sessions right away.
Right.
Because
we're on the wait list.
Yeah, which was fine. And that was good, because it kept me focused. And as far as like even signing up and, committing, because it is a commitment.
And an investment.
Complete investment. And I was, part of this was like, I was just kind of getting myself under control money wise. And so I was like, you know what, though, if this is supposed to be the last time I do this, then it's worth its weight in gold.
So you said to yourself, if I could make this the last time I ever have to lose weight again, then the money that I'll be investing in it will have its weight in gold, right?
Absolutely. Like, I won't have to do it again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or look for that other thing.
And would you believe, would you say, as the listeners are listening and we take them on a little journey of what you went on, that it was its weight in gold now that you're finished?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I definitely.
So you were right.
Yeah.
At the beginning, like when you had that instinct that I could help you and that you could make this the last time with me and it would be worth the investment. It's weight in gold. And now you're saying to everybody it was.
Yeah. I feel like it's weird, because in the past, I'd always have that little voice in the back. If I've reached my goal, and I've reached a goal before, it doesn't always stay.
And what's the difference?
One thing is, I'm not worried so much about the goal. I'm really not worried about it, because I know it's going to get there. I really feel like I just have this new attitude that I can't.
What's this new thing you got?
Joy. No,
no,
it is. I'm like excited about it. And if I fall off, which I'm okay with it, it's not a big deal.
Why isn't it a big deal if you fall off? In other words, if you end up eating or fogging or doing something like that, why isn't it a big deal? And why do you still know it's the last time you'll ever lose weight again?
Because I get another minute. I get another hour. I get another meal. I get another day. I found this poster in my classroom.
Yeah.
There's something about there's always a second chance, and it's called tomorrow. And so and I'm like, oh my God, I've been reading this every single day. Why haven't I like believed it myself? I believe it for my students. I teach it to my students all the time, but I don't do it for myself. And I think that's the difference now, is that I just feel so much better about me. I do. And it's like, and I don't want to get emotional, but.
Well, get emotional, because everybody's listening this is a very emotional thing.
It isn't. And the crazy thing is, it's there all along. It was there all along. And I just had to find it. Or, and I even said it to you in my letter, that I got reintroduced to a friend. It was like,
and who was that friend? Yeah, we say that one.
Me. It was me. It was like, I got reunited with my high school friends like 3 or 4 years ago. And that was life-changing. And now we talk all the time. And I don't know why, you don't even look back at why that things happen the way they happen. But it was like being reunited with myself. And, maybe I never even knew myself, who knows? You think you do, but I just feel it in my heart that, you know what, if I do fall off, whatever, you know what I mean? Then, hey, it's joy. You live in the moment. And that's another thing. It's like, I'm not worried about the meal next Saturday or even tonight. I'm just like, okay, do I feel hungry right now? If I don't feel hungry, then that's, and I know I'm jumping around here, but
no, it's okay.
It's like that urge thing. I learned to sit with it. And that was the other thing I kept going back to look about, is like, I would get up and go to the kitchen and find whatever box was there that I could put my hand into and to my
When
mouth.
you had these urges.
When I would be trying to get something done and I'm avoiding it, I'm really good at that. So I would get up.
You used to be really good at that.
I'm still good at avoiding things, but I don't go to the kitchen. No, if I have a task I need to do and it might take some brain power, if I was home, I would get up and pace to the kitchen and go back and grab a hand. And it's like, oh, it's just one handful. That's it.
Yeah.
But then I would be like, okay, that's gone. I need to go get some more. And so I would I'd be in this vicious cycle and I would not notice that. And now it's like, I feel it here, my stomach, that urge. And I'm like, that's your urge. Sit here, just sit, figure out why you're sitting, why you're doing that. And I'll still get up and I might pace and just get some exercise. I feel the urge. I might get up just to move, like a change of scenery, but I don't go to the kitchen. And if I go to the kitchen, I'll get water. I make sure I have a water bottle at all times. I'm drinking so much more water. I'm not drinking as much coffee. Remember, I used to tell you too, I was like, it's coffee. It's coffee. I know it's coffee because I was so addicted. And now it's
But the real thing that you're saying more than anything is that when you have this emotional hunger or this craving, I think what you're saying, I think it's really important for people to hear this, is you're able to feel it. You don't push it away. You don't avoid it. You can feel it without filling it with food.
Absolutely. Yes. I think that's probably one of the biggest differences.
Yeah.
Is that I just am like, there it is. There it is.
There it is. I mean, it's amazing.
It is, because you even say, curious, be curious about it. Why are you feeling that? And it is kind of funny because it is like clockwork that I'm usually working on something I need to do or, whatever. It's that I've learned what my, not triggers, but maybe it is. Yeah, it was
the thoughts that cause the urges.
Yeah.
You've learned them because you've done a lot of work on them. For everybody that's listening, Jennie is a hard worker. Your food journals were in depth. Everything that you wrote with models and any other homework that you ever had was in depth. You did the work on yourself. You looked at everything. I mean, yes, I think I'm a very good coach, but yes, you are a very good client. And I think that's part of why your success is so high right now, is because of the work that you did investing in yourself, Jennie. And, I know it's emotional for you right now, and I can feel it in my heart. But when you talk about finding yourself and maybe not knowing yourself ever until now, like how old are you, if you don't mind sharing? Because nobody will believe it anyway.
I have to remind myself because I can't, sometimes I have to do the math. 56.
You're 56 years old and you're just meeting yourself maybe for the first time.
Yeah. And I always prided myself on thinking I knew who I was. And I know what I like and I know this stuff, but really knowing who that little kid was. Remember, we talked about that, and you kind of go back to those times and it's like that. And you go back to those times and
well,
it's
what we
not
do,
that long ago.
Let me interject a little bit when we talk about going back, because we don't do it like a therapist does it, but we go back because what we do sometimes is we see the thoughts that you had when you were younger and how they're influencing you now. And even though you can't change what happened in your past, you do have total control over what you want to think about that in your present moment.
And I think the big thing for us, and I hope this is relevant to this, is I had one, I'll call it the Oreo fog or the Oreo attack.
Okay.
When I said, F it. And and Oreos are not gluten-free. They were not gluten-free Oreos, but I was just doing something because I had to do it. Right. And you kept pushing me on this in terms of
So you were doing, wait, let's, so everybody's clear. You were doing a task that you thought you had to do. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I remember I was annoyed that I was making something for a cookout or something. Right. And the Oreos were right there. I was making an Oreo cake or something, an ice cream cake.
Yes. And these were on your food journal.
Yes. And I said, well, I'm having one. And I ate one. And then I'm like, nope, that one looks stale. So I'm going to open the other one. And I just started eating the frosting. And I was like, this is what that storm is. And I wrote it in my food journal. And you asked me like, well, why do you have to do it? And going on. And it I guess what that was the beginning of realizing how much I was a people pleaser. And then that led to the bigger picture of where did that come from? And then,
Yes.
and I hope this is helpful. It's like the layers is when I really looked at that time in my food journal. This is why the food journals are so relevant. And you kept pushing me on these because at 4:00, my witching hour, I was always eating something. And I kept saying, but I'm hungry. I'm hungry. And really, when I think back to that time, it is a tough time because it's the end of the day and you're tired. But I kept
it's an emotionally tough time.
Yes. And so I would use food. That was usually my commute home, or it was the end of the day. And I was insisting to you for quite some time that I was legitimately hungry.
Yes.
But when I look back at that, I'm like, how are you hungry? Because you just ate something at 2:30 and you're not, all this other thing. So it just makes you look at it and, maybe.
Okay. So I want to stop you for a minute because there's two things I want to talk about with you. Okay. So first, the Oreo incident, which is different from this 4:00 hour. I want to go on both of those because I want people to understand what happened. So with the Oreo incident where you ate the Oreo cookies, that ended up like when I coached you on it, because the purpose of food journals is for me to be able to help you understand why you do what you did. Mm-hmm. And we knew that you weren't hungry. We knew it wasn't planned. And I don't know what it was, but it was hard for you to see why you did it, but you knew that you had to be coached on it. And so that's why you're talking about I kept pushing.
Yeah.
But just so people understand, when I'm pushing, is it helpful, the push? Is it uncomfortable, the push? Or because I don't want people to be afraid.
Oh, no. Yeah, exactly. It was almost like I needed to see that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I do.
You're definitely, it is a little uncomfortable but in the moment, because you're a little defensive. I'm a little defensive.
Exactly. Right. Because what you see and what I'm trying to help you see is difficult. And that's why you've never seen it in all of these years is because you pushed against it.
Oh, totally. Because I had something else to do. I had something else to do. And so.
But you let me.
Yeah.
You trusted me enough. You trusted me enough to know that I was only helping you.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So the push was help.
Yes. And I think it was total help because going down the road, then I was able to kind of refer back to that. I needed a starting point. And I also think that session led to where we did some work on feeling what I felt in my body.
Exactly.
Because I wasn't ready at that time. But then as we progressed, I got definitely ready. And that's kind of like where I'm ended up.
So the Oreos, what I want people to see about, the Oreos opened up. Like that's why you eat what you eat. Opened up the whole idea that you would want to eat Oreos because you were doing something that you didn't want to do and you were basically pissed off. And you've probably been doing it your whole life, just trying to please somebody else and end up doing something against yourself. And the Oreo incident was a perfect example of that, only this time you actually got to see it clearly so that you could actually meet yourself and help yourself. That's the way I saw it for you. It's like it was an Oreo cookie that turned into a life-changing experience about how you handle other people. And that's the power of food and why you eat when you're not hungry and food journals. That's a perfect example of how you're saying that opened up so much for you once you could see that.
Absolutely. Because I kept thinking even before this that an emotional eat was hiding in the bathroom with a quart of ice cream. And I'm like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't do that.
Yes.
And so I was kind of in denial that I was an emotional eater.
Yep.
And I really was. I think, I know, I feel fine. And it's like, no. There's other things.
Yes. And that's the reason that you hired me to begin with is because you thought you were doing everything right, but you knew somehow by listening to my podcast, the way that I get in with people, that I would help you see something you couldn't see for yourself.
Absolutely.
Right. And the Oreo incident is a perfect example of how you got to see something that you never got to see that changed your world and changed your relationship with yourself that makes you feel so emotional right now about being able to connect. to yourself was
Yes.
probably from the
Yes.
Oreo incident. I just want people to know sometimes
Yeah,
these foods have more power than you think.
Oh, yes. As tasty as they are.
And there's nothing wrong with eating an Oreo cookie.
No,
for
not at all.
enjoying the taste as opposed to filling an emotional hole, like being pissed off and trying to eat enough Oreos not to feel it. Big difference.
Right. Big difference. Yes.
All right. So now I want you to talk about 4:00 hour. That was the Oreo incident.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay. Now the 4:00 hour and thinking that you're always hungry at 4:00 and always putting on your food journals that you were ready to eat. And you were having a problem with the scale because the scale wasn't dropping and you couldn't understand it at this point. And the scale always has ideas for us. And so I want you to talk about how you transformed that 4:00 hour into believing that you were hungry to where you are now.
Yes. And I will say, and just so people know,
Yes.
I wasn't thrilled with you saying that, Jennie, you might be eating too much. And I'm like, no, I'm doing everything right. So I will say that, but it was fine. I was like, onto something.
This happened.
I knew you were onto something. But it was just more about me kind of trying to figure it out. So
but let me just interject real quick before you go on. It's like that's the coaching is like we use the scale as a tool. If the scale's not doing something, you're not doing something, right? And it's really hard to think because you believed you were doing everything and you made lots of changes. And what we tend to do is we tend to get a little upset with the scale. And then we get a little upset with the person that's trying to tell us that this could be the problem. But sometimes we don't have our hunger scale calibrated properly for ourselves. And the scale will show that to us because it won't change.
Yeah, I definitely had a big thing with that. With my hunger scale, trying to figure out what it was. But I think the 4:00 thing was really like when I really, really sat and thought about it and looked at it. It was almost like I had this aha moment. I don't recall where it was or what I was doing, but it dawned on me that, okay, because I was just looking at the routine. The routine was whether I put a bag of almonds and it was not unhealthy.
It had nothing to do with what type of food it was.
Not
it was,
at all.
Are you hungry or not was the question.
Right. So my thing was, I'm just going to use the 4:00 going to my car. It was probably whatever time it was. After work. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. My head's spinning. And I realized that whatever I had sitting there waiting for me on that commute home, that thing was going to hug me. It was going to not judge me. It was not going to tell me that I had to do something else. It was just for me. And so I was definitely like emotional eating at that time.
And that was your awareness.
Yes.
That's not what you knew in the beginning. You thought you were getting in that car and you were hungry.
Yes, absolutely.
And it took weeks. It took weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
To realize that it was a tinge of hunger, like maybe a 0 or a -1. But the emotional hunger was strong and it convinced you it was physical hunger. I think a lot of people can relate to that.
Yeah. And when I really, really listened to that voice or whatever, it was like.
When you really listen to the difference between physical hunger and listening to what was really going on emotionally.
Yeah. It was like the joy of just sitting in the car and enjoying whatever I was enjoying. And it wasn't even that I was enjoying it. It was like, this is my snack. This is my snack.
You were filling an emotional hole, which made you feel like better.
Yeah.
But it wasn't because you were physically hungry better. No. It was because you were emotionally hungry. Yeah. I mean, that was a big thing, more towards the end of working than even in the beginning. And it was because of the scale. If the scale was moving, we would have not seen that. I wouldn't have pushed on it.
No, it took a little bit for the scale to move. I mean, I'm proud to say I've lost 7 pounds. I don't have a ton to lose.
Well, no, you only have a few more pounds to lose, which is really interesting for people to see is that, it doesn't matter if it's a lot of weight or a little weight. I mean, eating when you're not hungry and not understanding your own emotional cues and your own emotional hunger, you don't get to know yourself. You don't get to understand what goes on for you. And I think that's what you were looking for. And so tell us, everybody, like, where are you now? How do you feel now? I mean, because these were big things that you went through. And now, how does it feel to be where you are right now?
Feels really good.
Yeah.
It feels like, I don't want to say like bring it on, but it's like, I can do this. It's a day by day, like it's just like living in the moment almost. And I'm not sweating about what I might do because I have to go back to work next week. Or, it's just like, I've got this. This is life and I'm living it. And I'm going to enjoy it for every good thing that's there. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I don't know if I'm answering that question right, but I'm just like really in a good place. I did put a lot of work into, my food journals with you.
Did.
And I am keeping it up. Yep. Definitely, because I do like looking back on it and kind of seeing. The other thing, and I don't know, I just did have to learn my hunger thing. And I think that the method that I chose to kind of do it, where I'm not getting up in the morning and eating right away, I'm kind of like breathing through the moments and in waiting till later in the day. I mean, I think that's what works for me physically. I really think that system of just kind of eating between these, even during the day, it's like my schedule is a little different in the sense that I'm not as focused on when's my next meal, because that was the other thing. It was something else I was like looking forward to, was like, when can I eat next? And I was worried about, oh my gosh, if I don't eat now, that was the other thing we noticed, right?
Yep.
I had this thing in my head that if I wasn't eating on this schedule, then I'm going to be this, oh my gosh, what if my mood's bad because I'm hungry? I'd be worrying the what ifs, and it's not about that anymore. It's just like, oh, I'm hungry right now. I think I'll go get something to eat. I'm really hungry because I'm hungry.
So I would say like you relearned your physical hunger scale over time, like it recalibrated, that you understood what true physical hunger was for you and true physical fullness, and the difference between feeding an emotion that took over time. Because I think for a lot of people, it's hard to believe that it's emotional hunger and not physical hunger. And I think that's how it was for you as you were going through that. And the more I coached you on it and the more you did the work, the more you saw it yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
And the other thing is that I just want you to touch on is that you wrote in a review that this was a game changer for you. And I just want you to tell people, number one, if they're thinking of hiring me to do the work that you and I did, what you would say to them and why this is a game changer for you and how maybe it could be that way for them.
I'd say a game changer in the sense that it's not about food as much as it is about food, right? It's not about food. Food is food. And I remember hearing you saying that in like a podcast. I'm like, yeah, but I love it so much.
Exactly.
But it's there and it's just like this big tease thing. No, or we would let it be a big tease thing. And so it changed the game in the sense that that's not what my focus is. It's like, my focus is like, I even hear the words, is that going to serve you? Like, even just deciding to do something, meaning like, am I going to participate in something? I'm like, how's that going to help you do better for whatever you really want to do? And so that's the game change, that I'm not all about, oh, I have to do that. I have to do that. I have to do that because they might think this. It's all about, I'm going to do that because this is like, my purpose is this. And if that's not going to help my purpose, sorry.
I love it. So the game changer for you is that we totally used food to bring up all the things that really were not working for you in your life. And now you do it the way you want to do it. And you learned it all from eating.
Yes. Or the way I was eating.
The way you were eating.
Yeah. Yes.
How you were using food. We use food to bring up why you do what you do.
Yes.
And now you know who you are, and you've met yourself for the first time, and you've become your own best friend, which is my biggest hope for anybody, is that you would become your own beloved.
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because you even say it. Would you talk to yourself? Like, would you talk to your friends the way you talk to yourself? And, and I would be like, yeah, no. And it's like, no, really, there's no way I would talk to somebody else the way I talk to myself.
Right.
Or I used to talk to myself. Yeah.
And that's a game changer.
A game changer, completely.
Would you say that you're at peace with food now?
Yes, I would say so. I would say so.
I hear you say that with relief.
Because remember, I know we were trying to come up with the phrase, right? Or something, and I just couldn't land on something.
About your compelling reason.
Yes. I don't know why that was so traumatic for me. But it was simple as I just want to be at peace with food. And that was really, honestly, when I look back at it, and that I just wanted to be at peace with it. That was a battle, and it's not a battle anymore.
You are now at peace with food,
Mm-hmm.
and you're now
Mhm.
at peace with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a game changer.
It's a game changer.
Thank you, Jennie, for being on my podcast. I loved every minute of working with you.
I loved working with you. Anytime you need me, call me.
Okay. Thank you, Jennie.
Thank you, Dr. Deb.
Well, I want to say a few things about that interview that I just did with Jennie. One thing that I just want to end with today, when she talked about the Oreos, and that happens with a lot of my clients, that a certain food, an Oreo, a bite of brownie, a drink of this, a storm of that, opens up the brain and the gateway to really what is not serving you. And for her, eating Oreos when she was actually doing something that she didn't want to be doing and didn't know how to say no to, led to her eating Oreo cookies, led to me coaching her through that as to why the Oreo cookies actually went into her mouth. And it was all because she was pissed off because she was doing something that she didn't want to do. And so she was referring it into the interview about people pleasing. And this is when we really opened up the idea of how do you say no when you mean no to people? How do you feel what's going on in your own body and try to please yourself first? This comes up on lots of interviews that I do with my most successful clients about people pleasing. And as Jennie said, it's not about the food. It's all about the food, but it's not about the food. She ate Oreo cookies and figured out that she does things she doesn't want to do, and she tries to fill up emotional holes with cookies instead of dealing with having to say no. And now, my friends, I want you to know, Jennie knows what she wants. Jennie knows herself. And more than anything else, Jennie likes herself. She is her very own best friend now, thanks to the coaching, thanks to the food journaling, thanks to figuring out why eating when you're not hungry gives you all the answers that you need. Jennie is there now. As she said, her compelling reason to do this work was to be at peace with food. And now Jennie is at peace with food. And if you want to be at peace with food, Jennie told you she did it. I have lots of clients who have done it. If that's what you want, and you want to start out this new fall season with a sense of peace around food, then all you have to do is do what Jennie did and sign up for a mini session where we can talk and find out if my process will help you. If it can, I will be the first to tell you, and you will know too. So all you have to do is go to drdebbutler.com/work with me, and you can sign up for a mini session and find out if what happened to Jennie could happen to you too, because I'll know. And of course, I would never end this podcast without saying to you this: no matter wherever you go, no matter whatever you do, please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I will see you next week. Bye-bye.
If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change, and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com/change, CHANGE.